Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. And what we have here is one of Lee's new offerings. And it's been out for a little while, but not much has been said about it. In fact, I don't see any YouTube videos on this Lee classic powder measure that have been done by end users. Only Lee Precision sales advertising type videos are out on this. So I thought I'd go ahead and get one of these and do a review on it for you. The first thing to report is that this powder measure cost $71 and change, and that puts the price right into the same as other competing type of powder measures that are similar to this. So we don't see a break in value on this new Lee offering that they normally have for their products. For example, we know about the Lee die sets, and for instance, you take a die set like this and it already starts out at a lower price point than competing die sets, and they give you more. So lower cost and more product. Quality products, plus they give you a shell holder and a powder measure, which other competing companies don't give you. So great value in the Lee die sets. So you would think that maybe the new powder measure would have something like that, but so far the price point is right along with others like my RCBS Uniflow on sale, or the Hornady on sale, will come very close to $71 and change. So let's see what we have here. Classic powder measure, rugged construction, machine cast iron body. Well, that's the same as what other companies will give you, a cast iron chassis. Easy to set and read with a micrometer measuring stem. Well, that's nothing new there. Convenient mounting. Fits all popular reloading presses. Well, it turns out that a freestanding powder measure like this does not really work well putting it into a press. Now this is a bracket that allows this measure to be mounted on a bench or a shelf top, and it's included in RCBS and Hornady type of powder measures. Lee doesn't give you that bracket. Instead, you have to get a separate reloading stand like this, and the other companies make those also. This stand here, even though it's nice, is another $25 option. Well, let's see what you get in here. So this is a first look at the new reloading powder measure. This measure is very substantial, made out of cast iron, just as Lee says. We'll take the hopper off. The standard hopper that's available for the auto drum and for the auto disc and this kind of thing. It's the same hopper there. Very good though, because it has this cutoff. Plus there's no need for a baffle, because the baffle is the bottom of this cutoff. When the powder goes in, you got an automatic baffle there. Looking at this cast iron, there's the elastomeric cutoff, which is really nice. And the inside of this is very smooth, of course, and it has a little ridge here so that powder leakage won't be a problem once you tighten the drum. And the new nylon drum replaceable inserts will go right in here if you want to use those. This brass drum is very nice, nicely made, and also the micrometer stem here. Now, this is made out of brass, but you cannot use it to load black powder. It's not recommended because the cast iron here can still generate sparks. Now, the drum connector here is the same one that's on the new Lee Auto drum, but instead of a nylon drum insert, you got a nice brass one, so there's no danger of stripping out this connection here. Let's go ahead and install this in the powder measure body. And this goes on like this. Just goes right in. Nice fit. Put the connecting screw in this side here, and there you go. Now, if you over tighten this, the action of the measure is very much impeded. You have to loosen it up just so until this throw is nice. So you wonder, at what point will that cause leakage? You gotta find that sweet point where it's not so loose that you get leakage, but it's not so tight that you can't run it. Be nice to have a stop. There you go. That's the sweet spot. Now this is a nice looking arrangement here, and you can tell the obvious quality of the manufacturer of this. The way this measuring stem works is there's a little lock here. You depress that, and that allows this little threaded adjuster to rotate, and when you do that, it causes the opening inside here to be enlarged, and more powder will go in, and you can go all the way up to here and get all this powder for rifle charging. And then there's a micrometer here, a little vernier scale that you can use. So this is nice. Now Lee states that you can use the new auto drum nylon inserts here as well. So here's one of them, and it goes right in like this. You go ahead and install this. Again, you don't want, now because of nylon, you don't want to strip that out. So again, you would put this in. But if you over tighten it, you got the problem of not being able to run the new powder measure anyway. So again, you've got to find that sweet spot where you're not too tight, but you're not too loose. So there you go. And look at that. You can use the auto drum type nylon drum inserts just fine. Now that seems to tell me that you can also use this one in the auto drum now if you wanted to. We'll have to test that and see how that works. Plus we got to test to see how accurate this new micrometer adjusting scale is. Now since this auto drum type insert can be used in this new powder measure, you would think that Lee might want to go ahead and give you one of these in the kit. When you buy this, you get one of these, but they don't do that. Turns out that that open receptacle in the box is perfectly made for one of the nylon inserts. And if Lee had included one of those, it wouldn't have cost them more to do that, maybe 50 cents. Plus, you buy more of these when you find out how good they work. So for Lee not to give us that, that's kind of out of the character of Lee. I wonder why they did that. They gave you a receptacle and never offered you the part. Well, we have a serious problem here. Since Lee doesn't give you a bracket that you can use to mount it on a bench top or a shelf, you gotta put it into a reloading press. When you do put it in a reloading press, you can't get it to come out far enough to hold a case underneath to charge a case. So you have to put a case in a shell holder and run it up there with your press action like this, and then charge a case. And then when you do that, you don't have a lot of clearance for your hand to run the powder measure. This simply won't work. The extra work of putting cases into the shell holder and taking them back out and running the press just to charge a case doesn't make any sense at all. And after you've gotten done beating your fingertips on your press, you're not going to be happy. You're almost forced to buy the stand for this powder measure, or a stand from another company. or you're forced to buy a bracket from another company because Lee doesn't make this bracket, much less include it in the kit. I don't think Richard Lee will be happy with this. In fact, the stand that Lee makes, even though I know it's very substantial and handy, I wouldn't recommend buying this stand, even in spite of the good reviews you'll see on it. The reason why is because there's not a whole lot of room underneath here. You want space to be able to put loading blocks in there, and you want to have more clearance in this direction to be able to put the reloading block in there without any kind of hassle. So this doesn't work as well, even though it's substantial and nice. It's a nice stand. $25 item, by the way. This is how you want your powder measure to be mounted. High off your bench so you don't hit the hopper, with lots of room underneath in both vertical and depth. So you got easy action, and you can actually visualize the cases being engaged in here very nicely. By the way, other companies give you different nozzles. Now, we all know how important smooth operation is for the operator to be able to consistently run a freestanding powder measure. And yes, RCBS and Redding and Lyman and Hornady give us that smooth rotor action. You don't have that with this new Lee Classic powder measure. There's friction, and then there's smooth, and there's friction, and that's not going to bode well for reloaders to be happy with this. And sure, we can run the stick type powders smoothly, but when the basic operation isn't smooth, it kind of offsets that advantage of running the stick powders. And sure, you can put some powdered graphite in there to improve this action, but you don't need to put powdered graphite in these. To be fair, when the nylon drums are installed, the action is a little bit smoother, but there's still about 20% of the friction grab in there that is not appreciated. Plus, here's a real glaring problem. The cast iron body has some kind of paint on it. It's not really powder coated, that's bonded on, that you cannot get that finish to be damaged. Look at this. In the short amount of time that I've had this, we're losing the paint. That's bare metal there. This paint comes off without any kind of problem at all. Not a very durable finish. We're not going to be happy with this. Compare that with my RCBS powder coated finish. That's 40 years. Good as the day was put on. I haven't even thrown my first powder charge with this measure yet. This finish isn't going to last 40 days. Here's what the Lee Classic powder measure should have been, and that is get rid of the cast iron body, get rid of this brass part here and all this kind of thing that makes the expense. A lot of the $71 is in this. I like to look at these new Lee nylon drums that cost $3 each as being as revolutionary as the Ruger 1022 magazine back in 1964. You got performance, you got easy adjustment, 1/10 of a grain for every flat, and if you want to crank, there's 3/10, there's 6/10, there's 1 grain. You can actually accurately change your powder charges with this. Preset them, they're only $3 each. Change them out simply, and what more do you need? You certainly don't need this thing. So tell me what looks better, this or this? Sorry to report that the new Lee Classic powder measure has a hard time getting to first base. Just imagine this Lee auto drum with a crank on this side and all of this apparatus in here for the automatic case activation. That's all gone. You got a straight through tube here, put a couple of nozzles on the end, give us a bracket, include 2 or 3 of these drums, put that in a box, call it the Lee Classic powder measure. and then price it at $30.